Hello and good evening. Hello. I don't know if anyone is there or anyone could see me, but hello. I'm sorry we didn't have an episode yesterday, but there was another episode going on in this Coronation Street, but we won't be talking about that because I don't have anything to say. So anyway, I'm very sorry I couldn't come on. So I don't know if anybody is watching or anybody can hear me. Once I know there's one person that's pressed like, but I don't know if you can hear me. One person, yes. Good evening to Keely, the lovely Keely, yes, and the Jane O'Keefe and Andrea and Enigma and Paulie, all the regulars in the room. There we go. So I hope you can hear me. I'm very sorry that there's already 20 of you coming in, so we're still early, but we're there we are. So good evening to you all. It's a wonderful Saturday evening, and 31st of May. I don't know what's notable about the 31st of May because I haven't got a copy of the Daily Mail, so I didn't read that column today. Right, okay, you can hear me loud and clear. Yes, so yes, we've had a few dramas, but I'm not going to talk about the dramas. Let's forget about those for now. Let's talk about something else. So there we are. And I'll try and get rid of all these notifications that keep coming up on this computer. And yes, I will soon have a new computer, so I'll be back on the ball with other things. So, the French keyboard is a little bit confusing, so it does make things a little more difficult to do things with the French keyboard. Anyway, so whilst we wait for a few more people, we've got 45 of you straight away. That's very good. And 9 likes. And thank you for all your likes and subscriptions and joining in and donations and all the rest of it you do. You're all great. Thank you very, very much. That's very, very nice. But we'll wait for a few more of you. When we get to 100, we can start talking about a topic. And I've got a couple of topics in mind. One of them is Sergeit Sinclair, Mr. Fake Madeline. He's decided to do something quite odd. I've taken screenshots before he can delete the little posts of his very weird manner, given what a nasty piece of work he is. He's a total piece of toe rag. And the other is that revolting man in Liverpool, I don't know why people are making excuses about him. He is one of the most truly reprehensible people, driving into a crowd of people and trying to, he nearly killed a baby. It's disgusting. There is over 70 injuries as a result of his actions, and there are 7 people very badly injured. And people go on about him. So we'll talk about him. But we can talk about other things that are more pleasant also. So, and then, of course, you will have a quiz. So, yes, it's Saturday, so we have to be a bit lighthearted. So that's absolutely fine. Right. Good evening to you all. We've got greetings from America. We've got, yes, let's sort some rubbish out and have a quizzing. You like a quizzing, says AJ Coleman. Sorry, my hay fever is kicking in again. I do apologize. I've been trying to rescue a seagull chick this afternoon, but that's not been very successful because the poor thing got thrown into the water by some nasty neighbor who didn't have the wise sense to realize that the poor thing can't fly, and then all the other seagulls attack it. And, it doesn't really react well to trying to be guided towards safety. So, and it won't eat anything, so I don't know what's going to happen to the poor thing, but I'm very sad for the poor thing, but I can't do any more. I've tried, and none of the other neighbours do anything about it. They just go, oh, well, it's just a horrible seagull, isn't it? That's all they say. So they're not very, very helpful on that one. But the other neighbours were very helpful with the other situation, but I won't go into that. But I thank them for their kindness. They were very, very kind and helpful with the other matter, but I'm not going to go into the other matter on this occasion. Right. Yes, the poor baby seagull. Yes, it is. It can't fly, and it can't get out of the water because the the marina area, the walls are too high, so it can't physically reach land. And if it reaches land, the horrible cat will get it. And the horrible cat has been destroying the gardens again. I don't like the horrible cat. The horrible cat is a nasty creature. So I'm very upset with the horrible cat, but I believe there's some kind of cat repellent you can get. So I'm going to go and investigate the cat repellent tomorrow morning before I cook a Sunday lunch. I'm going to do a traditional Sunday lunch. I don't know what your favorite is. Do you like roast beef, or do you like pork, or do you like roast chicken? On this occasion, we'll be having roast chicken, but what's your favorite? Let me know. That might be a good thing. And we'll be having a prawn cocktail, obviously, because I love a prawn cocktail. This nice family from England he's English, she's from Paris, and they live in Verbier. They're terribly smart. And they're very involved with all sorts of very smart people, but I won't say who they are. They're coming over, and it'll be a very nice little Sunday lunch in the garden. And our German neighbour may be coming to join us. Yes, well, she didn't do much about the seagull, so but she may be coming, but she doesn't like the seagull. So they all seem to have this attitude against nature, which I find very, very odd. These people, you should be kind to nature. I come from a rural family. I grew up with farming and all the rest of it, shooting, fishing, all the rest of it, and we respect nature, and we don't allow an animal to be abused in that way. And these seagulls are being very vicious. So I'm very upset about this. But I'm not going to start a petition on this one. But I think it's not very nice to have let this I literally witnessed this man throw the seagull fledgling into the sea. That is not a nice thing to do. You shouldn't do that. Into the water, it's not fair because it can't fly. It can't get back out because the water is the difference between the water and the dock is too high, so it can't fly. It can't get out, and it's completely confused. And all these other ones come and attack it and try and kill it. So I'm very upset about that. Right, there we go. You'd like a prawn cocktail and a rib of beef, says AJ Coleman. I love a rib of beef, but I don't think we're going to be quite doing that tomorrow. But rib of beef at the Carlton Tower, Rants Hotel. Oh, yes, theirs is the best. Absolutely wonderful. And the Dorchester and all these places. You could have amazing I love everything off the trolley. When it's carved from the trolley, even better than anything else. That's the most wonderful thing. And on Jay Rayner's Radio 4 program today, he had a guest who talked about how you should let the meat rest. You should not leave it. You shouldn't cover it up again when you take it out of the oven, because obviously the bone is still cooking it. So there you go. There's a lesson in cookery not from me, it was from Jay Rayner's program, The Kitchen Cabinet, which I love. The Kitchen Cabinet. Jay Rayner, him and I have done things about goat cheese together, and we've done things on mini cheddars and chablis. So I like Jay Rayner. Of course, his mother was, of course, the famous agony aunt, Mrs. Rayner. I forget what her. She's nothing to do with They're nothing to do with Angela Rayner, by the way. They're nothing to do with that. And he does like some of the restaurants that I really like as well. So I think Jay Rayner is a fascinating man, and he adds some color to the world and some great warmth with his wonderful program, because it cheers people up. And we need some good news in the world, and we need some positivity. And that is a nice thing, as opposed to some of the bad things going on. Of course, today has been the day of the Jeremy Bamber protest. There's over 100 of you here now, so I will talk about that. I don't know what went on at the Jeremy Bamber protest because I haven't had a chance to call them, but I'm sure they're very, very busy, and there's lots of other people at that protest, and there's all that Lucy Letby bunch of loons. It's a protest at the Criminal Cases Review Commission. Jeremy Bamber deserves justice, and it's about time we got on with it. Come on, hurry up. You useless people, get on with it. It's absolutely terrible that, this man is still in prison. He shouldn't be there. I said it about Menendez, and I got it right on that one. And I will continue to campaign for Jeremy Bamber. I'm saying Jeremy Bamber should be let out of jail. Let's get Jeremy Bamber free. And I will be having another phone conversation with the Jeremy Bamber campaign team tomorrow morning, because I will call them. Even when I'm preparing my cooking, I will be able to spend some time just having a little chat with the wonderful Philip Walker or Yvonne Hartley, two lovely people who have campaigned for so long. Yvonne especially. Yvonne has worked through millions of pages of evidence. What an amazing lady Yvonne Hartley from Lancashire is. She's a true Lancashire lass who works bloody hard for Jeremy. And Jeremy Bamber is a man who should not be in prison. His sister was the killer. The adopted sister was the killer, without a doubt. I am 100% convinced, after what I have now learned from the New Yorker, the Guardian, even they, the left-wing Guardian are on his side. The Mirror have supported him. The Daily Mail. Everybody is supporting him now, which is exactly what happened when I was told, shut up about the Menendez. Well, the Menendez have been resentenced. The Menendez should have been allowed out of prison in 2016. Smell the coffee. For goodness sakes. We have to support these good people. And here we are. Claire Rayner was a good friend of Michael Barrymore, you say. Well, I didn't know Claire Rayner, obviously, because she's a little bit before my time, but she was an agony aunt, and she's the mother of Jay Rayner. But Jay Rayner has always been quite polite to me. I have other friends who have differing opinions, but there we go. So we'll see what happens. But yes, Mr. Lee Kicker says, I'm a Lancashire lad. Yes, born in Merseyside, though. Well, there you go. Well, I wasn't born in Lancashire, but I went to school there. I went to one of the oldest schools in Lancashire. It was founded in 1256. That was the latest date. It could have been 1235, but the date range is 1235 to 1256. So my school was one of the oldest schools in Britain. In fact, it's a very, very, very old school in the Royal Grammar School, Lancaster, which was, of course, Cecil Parkinson, Professor Sir Arnold Wolfendale, all sorts of people, the chief of Saatchi and Saatchi, loads of people went to my school, loads of rugby players and sports people and everything else. It was a mixture of success and, I'm probably its ultimate failure. So there we go. I'm probably the absolute village idiot that went to the school. There we go. So you're talking of Terry Waite and his birthday. I didn't know it was Terry Waite's birthday, but if it is Terry Waite's birthday, I wish Terry Waite a very happy birthday. Terry Waite is one of the most wonderful people I know. Absolutely lovely, lovely man. And he helps me with, he introduced me to the Mark Alexander case. And Mark Alexander is another person who should be out of prison. Mark Alexander did not murder his father. It's impossible that he murdered his father. His father had multiple enemies, and he was just a decent person. If Mark Alexander would admit his guilt, Mark Alexander would be allowed out of prison now. But because Mark Alexander is not a guilty person, he is not going to cave in. And I went to Mark Alexander's court cases at the Royal Courts of Justice 2 years ago, and he is the most courageous, wonderful person. and he's a model prisoner. He's taught people to play the piano in prison. He's done a law degree because he was already doing a law degree before he went to prison. The mobile phone signal tower records proved that he was not present. His father had about 5 names. His father lied to him. He didn't even know he had a mother until he got put in prison, because the mother had been bullied to keep away by this evil father. And, it was a Midsummer Murders type situation, and in this village, and he'd sit there with his curtains closed all day long, and it was all very odd. And Mark Alexander did make a couple of mistakes. He shouldn't have sent a Christmas card saying, Happy Christmas from me and my dad, because he hadn't seen his father, but he was only being pleasant. He's just a decent human being, and everything about him. Terry Waite is a man who was held dead, and Terry Waite is not going to be supporting some. So Terry Waite, I totally stand with Terry Waite, and he's a one support. Mark Alexander, and we must also support Omar Benguit. I think they are, the cases that I tend to support. The Menendez brothers are getting there, but it's not going to happen until August, so we have to wait for that. But it will happen. And even that Kardashian woman's joined in. So, we've had everybody join. Of course, they all joined the bandwagon at the end. But good for her. I'm glad she has. So she's helped. So fantastic. And there are people who deserve to be in prison. Lucy Letby. Let's keep her there. And I know that the people at the protest will be mostly there to support Lucy Letby. And, well, go away, you stupid, silly people. There's no need to support Lucy Letby. Lucy Letby is a wicked, evil child killer. She's up there for me with Rosemary West and that other one. So coming to that topic, yes, let's turn to Sergeit Sinclair. Mr. Sinclair, the man who was the mouthpiece and so enthusiastic to support Julia, or whatever she's called on a Saturday. Maybe she's called Jane today. Maybe she's called Jackie. Maybe she's called Peter. She could be called anything for all it matters, because she's a complete fake. She is not Madeleine McCann. And he had the audacity to be very rude to me and to other people, several other people who I had him speak with. And I don't care what people say to me, but this man is a disgrace. And of course, he represented that lovely woman, Maxine Carr, the woman who helped cover up the Soham murders, the murders of those 2 innocent, beautiful children who were drowned in a bathtub by that nasty caretaker. He represented her. He then represented the woman who hid the child under the bed, Karen Matthews. What another nasty little rat she turned out to be. A stupid rat as well, because she got caught very quickly. But he was quite happy to be involved with her, like he has been happy to get involved with the fake Madeleine. Anyway, he's decided to have a little row with the fake Madeleine. And I don't know whether he's having a row with his other one, Karen from Cardiff, Karen Spragg, the most unfortunately named woman on the planet, in my view. Hello, Miss. What's your name? I'm Mrs. Spragg. It just sounds ghastly. And she is ghastly. Karen in her Crocs. Now, some people, I'm sure, can get away with wearing a pair of Crocs, but I don't personally think I could. But anyway. So let me try and find on my telephone device my photographs. Yes, so Mr. Sergeit Sinclair Here he is. Here he is, this little rat. He put up that picture. If you had got a tie as badly tied as that, and a shirt that doesn't fit as badly as that, would you put up that picture? Because I certainly wouldn't. No. Anyway, Mr. Sinclair has now said, right, I have to go to the next picture. I don't know how I do this. I am totally useless with telephone devices. He has written results. I can confirm today, who does he think he is? That Julia Wandelt is not Madeleine McCann. DNA results have confirmed that Julia Wandelt is just Julia Wandelt from Poland. I can also confirm that Julia Wandelt, this was his client who was happy to represent, is not a missing child, and never has she been trafficked by any paedophile gang. I have viewed her birthday certificate. I think you mean birth certificate, you stupid little prick. You're an idiot. And it's 100% legitimate and not a forgery or a fake. I tend to agree with him on all of this, by the way, but it's just I don't like him. He's a nasty, nasty man. This birth certificate clearly states that Julia was born in Poland and is older than Madeleine McCann. Well, I told him that when I spoke to him on the phone, the stupid Burke. You know, can he not even realise what's wrong with the silly fool? Anyway, I've also seen photographs of Julia Wandelt before she was 7 years old. These were photos that she claimed she didn't have, as did her supporters on the Free Julia Wandelt Facebook page. I have spoken to both Dr. Monty Miller, I don't know who that one is, and the second expert, who does not want to be named, where Julia claimed that her DNA matched Jerry McCann was 69%. Julia's DNA results were not a 69% match with Jerry McCann, but had been manipulated to look that way. I suggest strongly that both of these scientific results are disposed in the dustbin where they belong. Several of Julia's followers from the Free Julia Wandelt Facebook, Karen Sprague, and Julia's boyfriend Adam have made various threats warning me against revealing these results. But now I've got to go and move on to another screen. But a fat lot of good that did. He's a charming individual, isn't he? He communicates in the most lovely style. The biggest question is, what are they trying to hide? Why are they so afraid of what the results being made available to the public? And then it's in capital letters, it's what they all wanted. I mean, he's a real ranter, as this little raging. Please note, Julia's followers will now attempt to play down these results or say they are wrong. But they should be aware that all of this information will come out in the media and the courts in due course. I'll have much more to say about Julia Wandelt and Karen Sprague at a later date. But right now, Wandelt and Sprague should concentrate on their upcoming trial. I wish them luck. I will not be answering any questions. Best wishes, Sergeit Sinclair. So he then proceeds, and I'm not going to read out all the nonsense that follows because I've not bothered to take screenshots, but he then proceeds to start arguing with all the people. So he is the biggest attention-seeking little pest on the planet, this Sergeit Sinclair. So Sergeit Sinclair, put a sock in it, you piece of soap. You're an absolute, you need a piece of soap in your mouth, you nasty old man. You're gross. You're grim, and you're an absolute grifter, and you're revolting, and you get yourself involved in all the most seedy things, and then when it goes wrong, you try and make it about you. So why don't you shut up and put a sock in it, you piece of junk? You're a piece of junk. Shove it up your jumper. Precisely. There we are. Expialidocious. I'm totally with you. So, yeah, there we go. That's Sergeit Sinclair. Yeah, he's a pesky varmint, says Who's the Snitch. I've never heard of anyone being called a pesky varmint. I don't know what the word varmint means, but I shall have to look it up. Do I think Barrymore was the one that killed the poor guy, or does he know what he was doing or not saying? I think that Barrymore deserves to be investigated. Barrymore has never ever told the truth. 9 people went to a party, only 8 of them lived. It's an absolute outrage. It's a disgrace. So there we go. So I think that Barrymore is one of the most reprehensible pieces of rubbish on the planet, because Stuart Lubbock's father died without getting justice for his son. Out of those 9 people, 3 of them were women. They could not be the killer because of the way that this man was raped and murdered. What happened to the door handle? What happened to the pool thermometer? What happened to all these various items that were there at the beginning when the police arrived and then disappeared? And why did Barrymore run away from the scene of a crime? Why did Barrymore claim he couldn't swim when his wife Cheryl's produced pictures? His ex-wife produced pictures of him swimming on a cruise boat, so he could swim. So he's a total lying piece of tow rag. Barrymore is a revolting man, and I'd like to challenge Barrymore to speak with me instead of going on TikTok every 10 minutes. But he never, ever responds, of course. And the lovely Sue Homan, who was married to Stuart Lubbock, the poor victim in this crime, and then there's the 2 children who have grown up with no father. It is a disgrace what was done by that Barrymore. And then to go on the celebrity Big Brother program and to get down on your knees and worship Jimmy Savile, and then to dress up as Hitler. You, Barrymore, are scum. You are the most revolting man on the planet. You're not a funny man. You're disgraceful. And you also rolled around on the floor with Marie Claire, Baroness von Oldensleben, a ridiculous racist who called my friend Jackie a Jewish pig, and was convicted of assaulting an Indian gentleman at the Belgrave's Hotel in SW1, and she also has been convicted of assaulting policemen and all sorts of other things, because she is a complete racist bigot, and she wrote a book called Absolutely Everything About Everything, and you're rolling around on the floor with that little rat. Barrymore, I'm not going to shut up about Barrymore ever. Barrymore needs to explain what went on at that bungalow. It was an L-shaped bungalow. It was not a mansion, as the papers continue to call it. There were noises. The neighbors heard the screams in the garden at 5 a.m. Nobody called the police until 6 a.m. So there was a whole hour in which time whatever happened was covered up. And then Barrymore's agent turned up, and Barrymore and the bin man ran away and went to the bin man's house. So bin man friend, who lived in another part of this village or whatever it was, went away. I'm sorry, it was his house. He is responsible for what goes on at his house. He invited them there. And then, of course, we've got Barrymore's then boyfriend, the drag queen. The drag queen, of course, has changed his name since. And the drag queen is a person who has been convicted of assault and various other offences. He's now, I believe, a lorry driver or a coach driver or something, or a taxi driver. I think he lives in Blackpool, which... there we are. Right. Okay. Yeah. Nothing wrong with Blackpool. I think Blackpool's a wonderful place, but there are a lot of drag queens in Blackpool, because we knew a man. I can't remember his name. My family knew this man. He was a very strange character. He runs the famous drag queen thing in Blackpool, so that's probably why he went there. But anyway, there we go. So anyway, that's that. So next question.
It's got a lot going on.
Sorry? What's going on?
Huh?
What's going on?
All the people were, and they're all standing in the road looking in here. They've gone moved up now.
Oh, I think we may have a problem.
And the guy over there.
What?
Who's that guy?
I don't know. She's speaking in the... Lady Min is speaking in the background. There's some kind of issue going on outside. I don't know. Well, I have to pause my program for 5 minutes. I did hear the noise in the background, but I don't know. But I don't know what's going on. There's nothing going on here. It's nothing to do with us.
There were 10 people standing there.
Why?
They moved up there now, I think.
Well, I don't really know what's going on outside, but it seems we have a little problem. So there we go. Yes, it's not the watering from above. The German lady has left, so there's no more of that. Right. Anyway, I don't know what's going on out there, but it seems to have quietened down, so it doesn't matter. Let's forget about that for now. If they come back, it's not Anthea Turner turning up. I don't think we've got Anthea. We've got Anthea arriving in the yacht. Yeah, it could be Anthea Turner, Min thinks. So there we go. It could be Claire Mandel. Yes, it could be Anthea and Claire. Yes, the lovely Claire who brings a quarter of a bottle of wine. Or it could be Angela Rayner. She might want to rave tonight. We could have a bit of raving with Rayner. I think Min's quite in the mood for a bit of dancing in her. I think dancing could be a good idea. Yeah, we could have raving Rayner, or we could have what's that other nasty one's work? That awful inglorious Hunniford. You know, she could come in with her 2 swimming pools because she's so grand. She's the grandest one. Or we could have Tamara Eccleston, or we could have half the Bibby Stockholm. Yeah, we could have all of those people. There's loads of them. Michael Gove. Oh yeah, Michael Gove has admitted that he shouldn't have really gone upstairs when he went to a pub in Aberdeen, and the next morning, you know, after he was caught disco dancing, he went, "Oops, I shouldn't have done that, should I?" And you know, meanwhile, Sarah Vine, that wife of his, has come out and said, "Oh, now we can be good friends with me and Michael." I think we all know went on with those two. A very odd couple. Yes, Fergie. Well, Fergie will be discussed at lunch tomorrow, but I can't say why. I may say why afterwards if I get plenty of good information. But there we go. Fergie will be discussed. But Fergie has been dancing in Lima. And I believe she's made another video since. But Fergie was talking to the plants. So not only does King Charles talked to the plants, but Fergie was saying, "Oh, I love you, you little pink thing," and "Oh, I love you, this one," and "I love Lima," and she was clearly off her merry rocker as usual, but we all know why that is, but I can't say why, but I'm sure you can guess. Fergie is a classic, isn't she? She's a class act. You know, the toe sucker. What a mess that woman is. So there we go. That's Fergie. So have a look up on her on the Instagram if you want a bit of a laugh, because it's just laughable. You know, she was talking to the corgis and communicating with the Queen last week. Now she's talking with the plants in Lima. God knows what she'll be doing next week. She'll probably be whatever it is. Maybe she could talk to this palm tree behind me. Anyway, Fergie is the ultimate communicator. You know, the greatest, grandest PR example in the world. You know, the only lady in the world who can get herself involved in everything and muck it all up every bloody time. She is the biggest fool on the planet. She's a feckless fool. I used to think that Fergie was just like a child and a bit harmless. She isn't. She's a national embarrassment, and she's a total disgrace. And as for Prince Andrew, the things I've learned about Prince Andrew in the last 24 hours are even more shocking than what he did with Jeffrey Epstein. So I am absolutely appalled at what I've learned, but I can't talk about it yet. And I don't think I will be able to talk about it because it's very, very complicated. But it is a terrible situation if it's true, because it's even worse than all his financial affairs. It's an absolute scandal how that man thinks he can behave. He is worse than Prince Harry. Prince Harry is a complete drip and a disaster. And, you know, what was all that about his wife showing pictures of his bottom? That's disgusting. That was revolting enough. You know, it's just, the world has been appalled by that. You know, we don't need to see Prince Harry's bum. That's not very pleasant. And stupid Meghan has absolutely no shame. She'll do anything because she's a grifter and she's a grabber, and she comes from, you know, she's got no moral compass. That's the thing about her. She's just a grab anything thing. So I suppose show a picture of his part of his bum is quite pleasant to her, but shame on her. So there we go. I'm not going to tell you anything in code this evening. No, I will tell you things when I have facts. A fact is not a fact until you prove it's a fact. So no, I will be checking out the details of what I have learned, and then I'll talk about it. But you know, I'm not like Sergeit Sinclair, who says, "Oh, I'm representing Madeleine McCann," and then he goes, "Well, she's actually a liar." What a nasty little rat he was. This man. Do you remember when he called me? He told he spoke of what he wanted to do to you know, various people around me and nasty things he came out with. Do you remember all that? That was months ago. And I'm very offended by what he had to say. And now he's turned on his little client. Doesn't that make him a reprehensible rat? I don't know where I've got it written. Everything is written down in the book, but the book is a little bit complicated because there's so many pages. And yes. It's trying to find it. No, I have all the notes, obviously, but you know, here's another page. You know, Karen Sprague and all the rest of it. And is he still representing Karen Sprague? Let's know. We let us know. We need to know. But quite frankly, people like that, shame on them. You know, it's time people like that were taught a lesson. He should be put in jail for what he's done. He's just as bad as those Tate brothers. It's disgusting. You know, he represents the most lowbrow, evil people. Maxine Carr, the woman who covered up the Soham murders for her stupid boyfriend, husband, whatever he the evil caretaker. What would make you want to get involved with such a person? And she's got a new identity. Why should she be treated that just like the Bulger killers? I cannot stand the Bulger killers. I've never had any correspondence with the mother of Jamie Bulger, but that lady has been through enough. And the fact that those monsters were able to walk the streets again and then do more bad things, ridiculous, absolutely shocking. Just because they were children, it doesn't mean they should get away with what they did. They put batteries in his eyes. They threw him on a railway track. They were monstrous, evil evil, evil, evil children. They dragged him out of a shopping mall and they took him round the town, and there were people who witnessed this. And I think those people are very disappointing also, because the child was screaming. And why did these people not just go, why are these 10-year-old boys dragging this 3-year-old child around the town? That seems a bit, that was always the bit that confused me of that case. Why did they not just say, excuse me, you must stop? And people must do this, like I did with the seagull earlier. I tried to stop the people, but people don't listen. Nobody ever listens. That's the problem. Most people don't stand up against injustice and bad things. And, the people here, they don't care about the seagull. They went, oh, just a horrible seagull. Let it die, basically. And that's not very nice in my view, and I think that's wrong. So I'm very upset by that. Steven Seagull, yes. Well, my friends in Whitstable did rescue a seagull, and they named it Steven Seagull. My seagulls here that come and sit in the garden, which were a bit, I have to say, I'm not very happy with them because I think they joined in with the nastiness. I call them Penelope and Keith. And of course, the nice story we've got today is, of course, it's the 50th anniversary of The Good Life. So my lovely friend Felicity Kendall was on the radio, and Felicity was always a regular at the Brasserie and Daphne's, and I've got some lovely photographs with her and her lovely late husband who sadly died. They were married twice, actually. They got divorced and then they got married again. So that's a rare thing. There's a couple of people I know who've done that. But Felicity is absolutely fabulous. And the wonderful Penelope Keith. So we named our seagulls after Penelope and Keith, because obviously I thought, Penelope and Keith, it's just a bit of a silly joke. Rather than having Steven Seagal, which I think lots of people call seagulls. Yes, it's great that they're having a revival, and everybody has been on the radio talking about this from, what's his name, the Rivendell, whatever he's called. I've forgotten his name, the chef. Anyway, he was going on about how it inspired him, and how it inspired him to go organic and cook and grow things in the garden. Hugh Fernley Whittingstall, who's a wonderful man who does campaigns about fishing and how we should be sustainable with fishing, and I think he's a fabulous man, and all the things he does. Hugh Fernley Whittingstall, cheers to him. I love people who do positive things and decent things. As much as I criticize all the rotters and ratbags out there, we have to have a bit of positivity in the world. So yeah, Jamie Oliver, yes, Jamie Oliver, fabulous. I think Jamie Oliver has, he inspires people to make food that's affordable. And that nasty woman, and she had a go at me. I was very upset with her. Well, she's not a woman, actually. Sorry, she's woke. I'm sorry, she's not a dragon, but she's called once. She was called a girl called Jack, because she's called Jack Monroe. Then she was transgender. Then she was Z or X or whatever you become, and then she was something else, and and then she was a grifter because she got caught out for all her dodgy things, and then she had a row with Katie Hopkins, and she sued her successfully. So fair play to her on that one. But Katie Hopkins can be a bit of a troublesome sort. But I don't know what she is now, but she's upset a lot of people because they all gave her all this money, and well, nothing ever happened with it. But anyway, she had a go at me over my support for Jamie Oliver doing 50p meals or something. And good for Jamie Oliver for coming up with a way you could make meals that were cheap. There were a pound meal or a 50p meal or whatever it was. This was 12 years ago, so I can't remember exactly what the price was. But Jamie Oliver is a breath of fresh air. Jack Monroe is a breath of toxicity. No thanks to her. We love Jamie Oliver. We love Keith Floyd. We love Julia Child. All these wonderful people. Gary Rhodes. I loved Gary Rhodes. Gary Rhodes cooked with black pudding. I love black pudding. It's one of my favorite things. My friend in Northern Ireland makes white pudding too, and you should try it out if you haven't, because it's a lovely thing to try as an alternative. There's lots of things you should try in the world. Keep trying new things and keep trying things that are affordable. We don't have to have everything expensive. People in the world always want expensive. They want caviar. Somebody wrote to me today from a PR company and said, "Oh, we've got a caviar. It's £125 a tin. Would you like a sample?" Well, yes, I would love a sample, but I'm sadly not in the UK, so you're not going to send it to me. Yeah, I love caviar, but I also love fish fingers. And I have my fish finger sandwich for lunch today, and I love my fish finger sandwich. I love fish fingers, and I love making my Marie Rose sauce that goes with it. So, you can have the excess, and you can also have the simplicity. I love my Yorkshire tea in the morning. I love to have a glass of Petrus. I haven't had a glass of Petrus in quite a while, but if I could, I would. But you can have both. It doesn't matter. But life can be wonderful from being simple. My friend in this God Frenet, he's a man who lives with his donkey in the woods, and he goes foraging for mushrooms. What a lovely man. I think that is a delight and a joy. And we need more people who have simplicity. And The Good Life was a great program because, you had the posh couple on one side, the Forbes Hamiltons or whatever they were called. Audrey Forbes Hamilton. Maybe that was when she was in the other program. I can't remember if that was their name. But the one played by Penelope, and then you had the other two who were keeping the chickens in the garden and all the rest of it. And it turned out I knew the people who owned the house where it was filmed, so I was involved in a little story about that many years later when I was at university. But Felicity is the most wonderful lady. She does so much good for the world, and she's had a tough time since her husband died. And she keeps cheerful. And wonderful radio program today, and it was a lovely little episode. So well done to Felicity Kendall. Well done to her. And 50 years, and also Penelope Keefe. So well done to her. She's been High Sheriff of the County of Surrey, amongst other things, since. So she does all sorts, does old Penelope. I've never met her, but there we go. So, right. Did I ever watch The Good Life? Yes, of course I watched The Good Life. A great program. I obviously watched it on repeat because I don't think it was aired during. Well, maybe it was aired at the beginning of my life, but I would have been a child. But I have watched quite a few episodes of it. I thought it was a charming program. But no, I've met her many a time with my friend Barbara Minto at Daphne's, and also at PJ's with Susie, my friend, and lots of things. Lovely lady, and great success to her. Well done. There you go. You're hungry now. Oh dear, I've set you all off. You want some dinner? Oh dear. Well, I've had a bit of pasta. That's about it. We haven't been able to do much else today. So there we go. Do I think Starmer is finished? No, I don't think Starmer is finished. No. Keir Starmer is not finished because Keir Starmer has a huge majority. He doesn't need to stand down, and he doesn't need to call an election, so he will just go on and on for now. But, he will probably throw one of them in under the bus. The Rayner woman is angling for the leadership. We can all see that. But Rachel Reeves, Queen of Thieves, is probably on her way out. I think she can't last much longer. She will be blamed for all the situation, the mess, because they are in a totally unsustainable mess, because they just don't manage public relations very well. They don't know how to communicate, and they seem to lack a good comms team. And I think that is a very weird thing in their position, given that Keir Starmer is not a stupid man. As much as I dislike him, he's not stupid. But he seems to be doing a lot of stupid things. So there's something. The background management is very weak. This is not like Tony Blair, who had a brilliant communications team. Tony Blair managed to keep it going for so long because he had good people in the background. If you're going to be prime minister and successful at communicating, you have to have good people working for you. And this one clearly doesn't. Okay, there was the mess up in the Blair era with the likes of 9/11, good day to bury bad news. That silly woman Jo Smith, and she was just ridiculous. But there weren't many other incidents of that type. Alistair Campbell, like him or loathe him, is a great communicator, and that's why he's still constantly called upon to comment on things. He is doing these podcasts and all the rest, and he's doing very, very well with that because he is a good communicator. You don't have to like the man to admit it, and I can't say I'm a huge fan of Alistair Campbell, but there we are. So there we go. Next thing, Blair had many spinning washing machines. Yes, I would say you're right. Yeah, he had loads of people. He hired lots and lots of people who were very good. Lots of these other politicians since haven't. Look at Liz the Lettuce. That's why she lasted 49 days. A lettuce lasts longer than Liz. So that's where we're up to with that. That woman didn't have a clue, but she's still getting paid £50,000 for a speech on the speech circuit, even though she is she is one of the shortest ever lived prime ministers, and shortest ever prime minister. Sorry, not lived. She's still alive, but my communication is very poor there, so I do apologise. There we go. Hello to Nicola. Yes, my lovely friend Nicola. I miss you, Nicola. I'd love to see you again soon. And yes, there we are. Lettuce, go lettuce. Yes. Yes, you'd like a quiz. Well, you'll get a quiz shortly. We've nearly done an hour, so we'll do a quiz shortly after that. Matt Grant says she's got serious mental health problems. I'm not sure who she is. Is that Liz, or is that someone else, or is that Megan, or someone else? Because many of you come in and mention things, but you don't. What do I think of Rachel Reeves and her economics? Rachel Reeves is Rachel from accounts, shouldn't be running accounts. Now what we should be calling her is Rachel from complaints, because as they say about her economics, that she should be running a complaints team. I think it would be better if she went into complaints than economics. I don't think she should be at the Treasury. I think it should be Rachel from complaints, given she can't even tell the truth about anything anyway. So she'd be quite good in the complaints department because she'd tell lots of porky pies, wouldn't she? She's a total liar, and she's a total deceiver, and she's a total disgrace. And Keir Starmer, well, what went on with those weird men, something doesn't add up there. And what went on with Lord Ali, with his buying his wife's knickers and his glasses and whatever, and staying in the £18 million apartment in Covent Garden, and the child being there and all the rest of it. Something doesn't, and then, other allegations against him. And the donkeys. Yeah, he bought a field for the donkeys for his parents, and he's made a huge profit on the donkey field now. So what went on with that, the donkey field? Come on, Keir, let's be having you. There's all sorts of other allegations, the Jimmy Savile stuff, but I will say that I think that that's a load of rubbish. I don't buy into all of that. I think that's nonsense because he couldn't have done anything about it. So I don't blame him for that. But, you would expect me want to blame him for that because, I really don't like those kind of people. But I will say I don't think he's to blame for that, but I do think he's to blame for many, many other things. And harming the farmers is the most disgusting thing of all because, I'm a big supporter of the rural community, and it is wrong to harm the people who are the guardians of our beautiful British countryside. Don't you damage our British countryside, you piece of rubbish, Starmer the farmer harmer. You are a piece of junk in that sense. And I don't think it's right that you freeze out the pensioners who, shame on you. Shame on you. They're the two worst things that I will hold you responsible for. And your government will go down as one of the quickest to be the most hated in Britain. You are so hated by everybody. My Labour friends hate you. My Conservative friends hate you. My other friends who are just not political just hate you. We don't like you. You're just a pathetic little man who doesn't even know how to read the room. Grow up, wake up, show up, smell the bloody coffee, and put things right that you've done so wrong and apologize. But of course you won't, because you're not a good man. And to attack the legacy of Margaret Thatcher, as you have done, shame on you. Margaret, whether you liked Margaret Thatcher or not, changed the world. What have you done? You got some Labour peer to buy your wife some knickers. That's what you'll go down in history for. The underwear man. You should have gone to Karen Brady, associate of the dildo floggers, and the dirty Michelle Mone, the bra queen. Why didn't you go to Michelle? You could have brought her in, since you like getting underwear for your wife on the free. It's disgusting. You're a shameful person. You don't have an ounce of decency in your body because you harmed the farmers. And one farmer committed suicide because of you. And I think that is disgusting. Farmers are the backbone of our country. Without farmers, we'd have nothing. So you should apologize to that family. Of course you won't. So there's no point me even asking you to. And you're not going to be watching me anyway. But I will continue to speak out. I will continue to support the farmers. And when I'm back in Britain, I will go again. Last time I was in London, I was on the farmer protest. I made sure I was there. I don't just say things. I will support what I believe in, and that is the farmers are the most important backbone of Britain. If we had no farmers and we had no bees, we'd have nothing in our country because everything would die. So there'd be no hedgerows, there'd be no, lovely Lake District where you could go wandering around, dropping your litter, the British public, because none of this would exist. The farmers are our heroes, and the bees are our heroes, and we must support the bees as well. The bees, I read that there was some incident with the bees. I haven't got the whole thing yet, but I'll talk about it tomorrow. But I believe some lorry tipped over that was carrying some bees, and it sounds awful to me because bees are so We don't have plants. We don't have any. We don't have anything. We need bees. So support the bees. I know, like the Wicker Man, the bees, they're going to kill us all. But the bees don't kill us. The bees make our lives better. So support the bees. We need more bees. And beekeeping is something that should be encouraged, as should be people to, do dry stone walling. And my father was one of the people in Britain who encouraged people to do dry stone walling. And because we couldn't get anyone to do it. So we supported the scheme, and that's what you have to do, because we need traditional skills. And I think that this Timpson man, who is a Labour minister, and his brother was a Conservative, I read a fabulous interview with him, and he helps prisoners do things and learn skills. Now we need people like him, a businessman who Timpson's keys and all that thing you get on your little high street, and he has helped prisoners get jobs, and that is wonderful. Prisoners, and I have another friend. I'm not going to name him because it'll just cause trouble. He does the same. He helps prisoners get bank accounts. If you go to prison, you can't get a bank account because you can't get anywhere, and you've got to give people a second chance. And most people who get a second chance don't go back to crime, and that's the good thing. Encourage people to be decent. This is a good thing, and I think that this James Timpson is very, very positive, and I very much enjoyed reading an article about him in the Financial Times the other day, and he is doing good for the world, and he's doing it through Labour, whereas his brother was Conservative. They're both, but they don't have a row about that. It doesn't matter what party you just help people. Nothing wrong with it. Right. So okay, next. Okay. There's nothing going on out there.
Well, there's 3 of them just standing staring in here, and there's 2 on the roof.
There's nobody on the roof. You're
the one in black.
You're imagining. Sorry, I'm getting a bit of imagination here. There's nobody standing on the roof. I don't. You're imagining. Sorry. Anyway, let's carry on.
No, I'm frightened.
You're not. You don't need to be frightened. There's nothing going on outside. There is nothing going on outside. And if there is, we'll lock the door. So sorry about that, viewers. There is nothing going on outside. Let's carry on. You think it's Barrymore, Black, and Turner in the garden? Yes, it could be. Right. Okay. Shall we have a quiz? I think that's probably time. Right. Okay. Well, I need someone to help me with this quiz because obviously, right. I need a piece of paper to write things down up on. And right. I did have a piece of paper here, but I think I've taken it away. Right. Oh, I've got one over here, so I'll have to lean over. Please excuse me whilst I lean over. I can write on the back of this. But there's no one there. Just put your feet up and relax. Just relax.
There's 3 people there and 2 on the roof.
There's not.
Nobody's living in that house.
There's not anybody on the roof.
And all they do is staring in here.
There's nobody on the roof.
There is.
There isn't. I've looked. There is nobody on the roof of the house opposite. It's across the water anyway. So just put your feet up and relax.
Just go down there for a second. Just have a look.
She wants me to have a look. Just for her security, I will go and have a look. Please just wait. But there is nobody there. Not the light. Oh, God. There's a seagull outside. There's not one single person out there. So
Sorry?
there's not one single person out there. You're imagining things. I'm sorry. It's just anyway. I'm very sorry. It's been a bit of a difficult day, and sometimes people get upset. So I've been and checked, and there is nothing. There's nothing going on, but the seagulls are there. So yes, right, okay. Right. No, there's no need to call the police. There's no need to call the police. There's nobody on the roof of the adjoining houses, and the £6.5 million stupid overpriced house across the way has got nobody on the roof. So there's nobody there. And the poor little seagull, well, can't do anything about that because unfortunately it wouldn't cooperate, and I didn't have a net. If I'd had a net, I could have got it out of the water. But do I really want to be bringing up a seagull for the next 6 weeks? Because the minute you touch these poor creatures, they cannot go back to their parents because obviously the parents will reject them and they'll just kill them. So there's no point touching them. There we go. Okay, well, let's do a little quiz. Let's do a little quiz for a bit of light relief. And there we go. Okay, my first question. What is a young hare known as? What is a young hare called? There was a fabulous article in the Telegraph about a lady who found a hare in lockdown and it was being attacked also. And she rescued it. So the first person to answer correctly with a leveret was Miss Marple. So well done to Miss Marple. But the article is about a book that's just come out by this lady. She was a communications person. Again, here we are, political communications. She worked for William Hague, of all people. And she worked for him at the Foreign Office. So she dealt with all sorts of things. And in lockdown, she found this hare. And 4 hours later, it was still there. And it was going to be attacked by all these horrible birds, which is, I can now hear the horrible birds outside. They are clearly planning on massacring that poor thing, but I can't get at it because it's in the middle of the bloody water. And I don't have a boat. So there we go. No, it wasn't Amanda Patel. No, Amanda Patel was his. She was involved with him, and she's a horrible, horrible woman, Amanda. I don't like Amanda Patel. I think Amanda Patel is a very cheap, lowbrow woman. I wouldn't call her a lady. She should go back to Australia because she doesn't belong in Britain or anywhere. But nothing. She doesn't belong in Australia even. I think Australia is a wonderful place, even though I've never been there. But I don't think anyone wants Amanda Patel. Please, she can go with Elizabeth Jones, another vile person. Okay, next question. There's a solar storm that's on its way. I didn't know about that. So there we are. Miss Marple just says you're. Which American actress gained the nickname for protesting against the Vietnam War in the 70s? Who was Hanoi Jane? Which American actress was known as Hanoi Jane? Joyce Grove gets the point. Well done, Joyce. Joyce Grove, you're the fastest finger first. So we've got Miss Marple and Joyce. Of course, it was Jane Fonda. Okay, which novelist penned the words, "One has to belong to the intelligentsia to believe things like that. No ordinary man could be such a fool." Who penned those words? It wasn't Oscar Wilde, no. It wasn't J.R. Hartley. Joseph Araminta, a new one. Joseph Araminta. I'll just call you Joseph Aramin because it's easier for my notes. Right. 1 point to you. It was George Orwell, of course. Okay. With which sport is Cameron Norrie associated? Which sport is Cameron Norrie associated? It's not horse racing. No. It's not rugby. Matt Grant gets the point. Well done to Matt Grant. You are in there and doing well. We've all got 1 point each so far. Of course, it is tennis. It's not Formula One, and it's not tiddlywinks, and it's not dogging. No, it's not that. That's something to do with that man called Lee, whatever his name was. He was into that. Right, okay. At which age did the Duke of Windsor, formerly Edward VIII, die on the 28th of May, 1972? What was the age of him? He wasn't 36, no. Miss Marple is wrong, and Miss Matt Grant is wrong. It's not 78. It's not 64. It's not 78. Audrey gets the point, 77. Well done, Audrey. Audrey is back in the room. So Audrey did well on another quiz recently. Okay, who played a psychic in the 1982 horror film Poltergeist and 2 sequels? Who played the psychic? What was her name? She was also an activist for little people. She was 4 foot 3 inches herself. It wasn't Janet Evans, no. It wasn't that wee woman. She lived between 1933. T.G. Wilson gets it with Zelda Rubinstein. T.G. Wilson. So, yes, 1 point to you. What was I going to say? Yes, she was quite a character by all accounts. 4 foot 3 inches, and she campaigned for little people, small being abused. So there we are. So that was that. Right. Okay. What was former Tory leader Ian Duncan Smith, who I can't stand, nasty little rat he is, father W.G.G. Duncan Smith famous for? What was he famous for being? His father, W.G.G. Duncan Smith. He was quite an amazing man. He wasn't a grey man. He wasn't involved in cottaging. He wasn't involved in dogging. He wasn't a writer. He wasn't a general. He wasn't a barrister. He wasn't, well, Joyce is kind of close, but I want a better answer. It wasn't a drug dealer. He wasn't involved as a tool maker. He was Lois Petzold. You can have it. Lois can have it. He was a war hero, yes. Lois Petzold gets the point. Was a fighter pilot in WW2. He brought down 19 enemy aircraft. He got 5 gallantry medals. He had 5 children. He was one of the most decorated airmen in the British Army, the British, what do you call it, Royal Air Force. So there we are. So what an amazing man. Unlike his horrible son. Okay. In which year did the Deadpool, starring Clint Eastwood, Liam Neeson, and Patricia Clarkson premiere? Which year did the film premiere? It wasn't 1975, it wasn't 1976, it wasn't 1978, it wasn't 1977, it wasn't 1987. Ross gets the point. Well done to Ross, a new entrant. Ross, we're not doing very well at getting any more than every question a different person. So we're getting lots of new entrants tonight. It was 1988. Dirty Harry, of course, the film about the death lottery. Okay. For what, now this is one of my kind of questions, was the racehorse, the Tetrack, famous? What was Tetrack? What was the Irish racehorse famous? No, well, it was obviously involved in horse racing, but what was it famous particularly? It did not win 3 races, no. It didn't win 10 in a row. It didn't have 3 legs. It didn't have 5 legs. It wasn't dog food. It didn't win a gold cup. It wasn't jumping hoops. It wasn't. No. It wasn't excellent at stud, actually. No, it was actually considered quite weak at stud. No. T.G. Wilson says spotted coat. I can actually, given nobody else can answer, I'll give T.G. Wilson a point because it did have a spotted coat. So that was one of its famous things. Tetrarak was had a 6-month career only. It won 7 races in 1913. Its aggregate of wins was 30 lengths. It did have 3 track records, but that's not 3 wins. That's not what it did. It was Irish. It had phenomenal speed. It was nicknamed the Spotted or the Roving Wonder Horse. It did father 130 foals, but that was over a 10-year stallion career, which actually wasn't that significant. If you compare that to some of the black caviars and the other horses that today, it's not that much really. So no, there we go. But anyway, I'll let you have that point, but reluctantly giving you that point. So there we are. It was the 6-month career with 7 wins, I think, is what was more significant. But what an amazing horse and what an amazing story. I didn't know about it till the other day when I started reading about it. And I love books about horse racing. And my father sent me a number of books about horse racing, Strangest Tales. And I recommend the book Horse Racing, Strangest Tales to you. I don't have it sitting in a garage somewhere in London. But if you can get hold of a copy, read it. If you're interested in horse racing or not, you'll enjoy the stories about how one horse finished the Grand National in 1850, whatever, and in the fog. Those kind of things, all these weird stories of horse racing. It's not just, Shergar and all that. There's plenty of wonderful stories of horse racing. Horse racing has some fabulous stories associated with it. So there you go. There's another good positive recommendation for you on a Saturday night. So that's what we need. We need a bit more positivity in the world, I say. Okay, right. Okay, in which year did the action comedy starring Sandra Bullock and Melissa McCarthy, The Heat, premiere? The Heat. What year? I give you some easy questions. It wasn't 1988. It wasn't 1999. It wasn't Jilly Cooper. I don't know what she's got to do with it. Leslie S., another new entrant, 2013. Well done, Leslie S. Right, okay. In which English county is Shrivenham located? Shrivenham. It has a 3,000 population, thatched cottages, 2 pubs, 12th century church, small post office, which is very popular, the post office, and it has horse racing stables. So it's another horse racing related question. It is not Essex, no. It's not Berkshire. It's not Shropshire. Audrey is close, but it's not in Oxford. No, Oxford is a city. No. T.G. Wilson gets another point because he says Oxfordshire. Oxford is not a county, and I can't accept half answers. So, no, I will accept only the proper answer, actually. Yes, I think it's quite correct. Hatchy says, I've met Chili Cooper on a train station. I might have made a novel and not known it. Well, there you go. Well, Chili Cooper is a lovely lady. I've only ever met her once or twice at a few parties, and the Mandarin Oriental was last time, and she was standing with a horse. I think it was something to do with one of her book launches or something, and I was invited, and it was very, very fancy party, and it was in the Mandarin Oriental in Knightsbridge. And there was this horse in the garden, and the horse got a bit out of control, so it was a bit bonkers. But anyway, I did enjoy the evening. I remember that. I remember the drinks did flow, so it was a very pleasant evening, and it was a beautiful summer's evening in a garden. So yes. T.G. Wilson says, historically, Shrivenham was part of Berkshire. Well, there you go. It is part of Oxfordshire now. So I read a very interesting article about the post office there. That's why I mentioned the post office. So it's one of the most successful post offices in Britain. And of course, with the post office scandal and Sir Alan Bates and all of that, it's interesting to learn about post offices and how they work, because Sir Keir Starmer is not giving them their money quickly enough. So shame on you, Keir Starmer, yet again. Keir Starmer, the post office harmer. So there we go. Right. Okay. What are the Irish family named Can, which my friend, of course, Nicola Tallant, the amazingly talented Nicola Tallant, associated with? What are the Kinahans associated with? Gets a second point. Well done to Joseph. It is crime. I'll accept crime. Of course, it's drunks. They are the UAE, they're the cartel, they're the cocaine, and of course there's Daniel Kinahan, and one of their little associates has been arrested and deported today, and they will hopefully get the Kinahans soon. The Kinahans are one of the nastiest families on the planet, and they deserve to be dealt with. So there we go. Okay, in which county might you find, this is an offensive one, might you find Bishop Butt Close? Bishop Butt Close. Joseph gets another point, so that takes Joseph into joint first. We've got Joseph and T.G. Wilson. It's Bishop Butt Close is located in Orpington in Kent. Orpington, there we are. Orpington is on the outskirts of London, of course, and I can't tell you anything else about it. I didn't make any further notes. Okay, as of 2025, for which watch brand does Leonardo DiCaprio, James Cameron, and Sylvia Earle appear in advertising for? Which watch brand do they work for? It's not Casio, it's not Apple. Joseph is now in the lead. Well done to Joseph with 4 points. Joseph is well in the lead now. Of course, it is a Rolex. Rolex say they are supporting those who preserved the planet since 1976, they say. I think Rolex are trying to make a profit, and having famous people wearing their watches is probably more on their agenda. So let's be honest about that. Right, anyway. When Labour finally remove or axe the final 92 hereditary peers from the House of Lords, what will those peers gain? What will they gain? When they're thrown out, what will they actually gain? Because they will gain something. DiCaprio recycles girlfriend. It's not a pension. Well, they might. Severance pay? No. There's a key thing that they will gain, and it's none of those things. No. It's not an STD. No. It's not a medal. No. It's not a title. It's not souvenirs. It's not freedom. Well, they might get freedom. I think they probably will get freedom. It's not a stipend. No, it's not the key to the city. It's not more gardening time, but they might. Yeah, well, of course they will. But endless drinks vouchers from Janet Evans. No, well, Janet Evans doesn't own her bar anymore, so they can't do that. It's not a criminal record, but criminals have a similar situation. So at the moment, you're not getting very on well with my question. It's not a bus pass. No. No. It's not tax exemptions. Miss Marple gets it. Yes. Of course, it's the right to vote in parliamentary elections. Hereditary peers are expelled from the House of Lords. They will be allowed to vote. They are not currently, if you're a peer or you're a convicted criminal serving a sentence, you are not allowed to vote. So they will be allowed to vote in parliamentary elections. So they'll be able to vote for or against Keir Starmer. There you go. It's as simple as that. Yeah, so well done, Miss Marple. So a second point to Miss Marple, which doesn't change affairs yet, but who knows? Miss Marple could still be in the game. Miss Marple is often in this game. So there we go. Okay. With which sport is Tom Curry associated? Tom Curry. Matt Grant gets a point, which gives him a second point. Well done to him. It's rugby. It's rugby union, of course. England, he's Sale Sharks, back row. He's got caps for Lions 3, Test 64. And Will Greenwood says of him, almost man of the match in every game he played in the last Six Nations. So he's rather commended by them. He's quite a popular one, is that one. Okay, what does Maharaja mean? What does the word Maharaja mean? The meaning of Maharaja. What is a Maharaja? Miss Marple says leader. I can accept Miss Marple's answer. So Miss Marple gets a third point. It means great lead. It means great ruler, but I will accept leader. That's kind of true also, but it does tend to mean that. Where's my notes? Sorry. It's equivalent to a prince. Of course, it's been abolished princely power in 1971. Now it's a title ruling person, and they're all in business and they all make a lot of money. Okay, right. The penultimate question. For how much did Jenny Savile, and she's nothing to do with Jimmy, Jenny Savile, 1992 self-portrait propped sell for at Sotheby's in 2018? I need the exact price, please. I need the exact price. It's not 1 million. It's not 33 million. It's not 56,000. It's not 1,500. It's not 99p. It's not 3 million. It's not a fiver. It's not 8.2 million. It's not 4 million. It's not 6 million. It's not 1,200,000. It's not 2.5. It's not 2.3. It's not 8. It's not 2,750. It's not £2.99. It's not 10 shillings. T.G. Wilson gets the point. T.G. Wilson is now in joint first. Well done to T.G. Wilson. It was 9.5 million. I'd never heard of this lady until today. I've never. She's represented by Gagosian and all the rest. It was then a record for a work by a living female artist. It is no longer because somebody else sold one for more this very week. So that was why they wrote the article about it. She's very involved with the YBAs, the Young British Artists, and she was very involved with Charles Saatchi and da-da-da-da-da. Anyway, I read a very interesting article about her having run the River Cafe, which is one of the most lovely places, and that's the last place my wonderful grandmother and my mother and my sister, and we had a lovely lunch there, and the River Cafe. I love the River Cafe. So It is a bit overpriced, but it is a fabulous place. It's ridiculous to get to. It's a total nightmare of a place to get to, but it somehow works. So there we are. Anyway, that's where they conducted the interviews. So, it was lunch with the Financial Times. So that was why I had that question. Okay. And my final question to you is, in which year did Britain's first steam-powered train on a public railway, the Stockton and Darlington Railway in northeast England, depart on its first journey? Which year? It wasn't 1881. It wasn't 1720. No. It wasn't 1956. No, that's a bit late. It wasn't 1942. No. It wasn't 1989. No. T.G. Wilson gets the point. Well done to T.G. Wilson, which gives you the win. You've got the winner. The winner is T.G. Wilson on this particular quiz. So T.G. Wilson, well done. Let me just give you a few facts here. Right, it was on the 27th of September 1825. It was a 26-mile trip, 31 wagons carrying 450 to 600 people, because obviously some got off somewhere. Average speed was barely faster than walking pace. The brakesman's foot was injured in the process because he couldn't cope with going so slow. There was a 21-gun salute on the arrival at the destination, and it was deemed a great success. And there we go. That was the start of Great British Railways. So there we go. So well done to T.G. Wilson on your success. That is the end of that quiz. So there we go. Right. What are we needing in the background?
I'm thinking to take that into the bathroom, but I'll wait.
Right. Okay. It's probably best that I probably end this program now. If the situation has developed. I would say thank you very much for a lovely evening of a wonderful quiz and all the rest of it. And thank you. If you have a few final questions, we can have a couple of final questions. But if not, we will continue again tomorrow. I do have to cook a roast chicken lunch and prawn cocktail and all the rest. So I don't know whether I'll be able to do it at lunchtime, but I'll try before the guests arrive. But yes, what do I think of Bonnie Blue? Bonnie Blue is a total disgrace, and she is a national embarrassment. To do what she did is revolting. She's just sick in the head. I think the less said about Bonnie Blue or whatever her real name is, the better. Bonnie Bogoff is what she should be called. Right. Would I go with Bonnie Blue? No, I certainly wouldn't. She's very diseased. After what she's done, she's disgusting. Absolutely revolting. There we go. Right. Tell us more about the Kinahans. Okay, well, I'll look into the Kinahans and tell you a bit more. But Nicola Tallant, my friend, go on to Sunday World, the Irish publication. Nicola does regular podcasts about the Kinahans because Nicola is a lady who's brilliantly infiltrated the IRA. She's infiltrated the Kinahans. She dealt with that nasty man Bailey who killed Sophie Toscan de Plantier allegedly, and now he's dead. All of that. She's a good worker. So go and listen to her because she's the expert. I don't know much about these Kinahans, and I'm not an expert, so I won't claim to be an expert on a topic. I'm not an expert. I know plenty about Joey Bamber. I know plenty about, Mark Alexander. I know plenty about Madeleine McCann, Ghislaine Maxwell, things like that. But I'm no expert on the Kinahans. So, but I do think the Kinahans are fascinating. And there was a very interesting article about them today, and about their associate being arrested, and now it looks like that the Kinahan crime cartel will finally fall. So, anyway, I say a happy evening to you all, and good gardening, and take care, and my best wishes to you, and sleep tight, and don't let the bed bugs bite, because I sleep in a boiling hot room where it sends me straight to sleep, because it's like being in a bloody sauna. Because I'd rather have the boiling hot heat than the bloody mosquitoes. So take care and have a wonderful evening. You've been a wonderful bunch of guests, and I thank you all. So thank you to all of you. You've been absolutely great. Bye-bye. Pip, pip.